Namaste. I'm Jayachandran again with the third edition of my series on restarting tourism in COVID era. I have already talked about what immediate measures to be taken to restart tourism activities when the COVID pandemic is controlled. Post-COVID measures, we need to think and take new strategies at that time. But with immediate effect, the tourism activities are not started. Hundreds of people who are dependent on livelihood from tourism and their families will be in further danger. I have already talked about these immediate measures like restarting intra-district tourism activities restricted with pre-booked and accompanied by a trained guide. Also, as a long-term measure, we need to improve our facilities in tourism research and training. The lack of proper data on the statistical information, particularly for tourism activities, really created a big hurdle even to the government in extending and offering any kind of assistance to the deserving people. I have mentioned about the need of serious tourism studies with emphasis on professional training. I thought this need a little bit more elaboration or details. That is why I have chosen tourism research, education and training is my today's topic. In all these tourism studies, both at academic levels in universities, institutions, also at professional training centers, tourism is explained through theoretic versions, and the course examinations highly dependent on the theoretic knowledge of the students. For example, what I found in many of these courses: define tourism, what are the details about the different terminologies used, what is an FIT, what is an GIT, what is responsible tourism, sustainable tourism. These kind of theoretical explanations were given more emphasis rather than imparting any practical training on what exactly tourism activities meant, or any kind of test which determines what they have acquired, the practical knowledge through these courses so far. The reason for this situation can be seen as a series of lapses in identifying proper curriculum and trained professional teachers and trainers. I think there was a study on tourism activities in the 1960s which gave a report to the central government, but of course it was not a priority of our governments. As usual, this report was put in the shelf. So our neighboring country Sri Lanka took it very serious, and they got this report and tried to implement many of its recommendations. That really gave that country a much high upper hand in tourism arrivals and earnings from tourism when it compared with what we have. Later in the 1980s, we have started thinking more seriously about tourism. Some institutions were constituted, like Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management, Kerala Institute of Tourism and Travel Studies, and slowly many universities started coming up with courses with tourism as one of the subjects. But unfortunately, even at that time or sooner, when tourism got into a lot of prominence as a business commercial activity, these institutions, however, did not improve, but rather they fell into the hands of political appointments. Most of these institutions have people from other areas where no connection with tourism in their background. The sad story is still this is going on, and the tourism education has not got into the right track. In fact, we can talk for long hours about what went wrong, but our question is not to find fault, but to help to get them into the right track, so that that can be beneficial for the whole country. I would like to draw the attention of tourism academicians, faculty members, research scholars, that what we lack now in tourism education is lack of a proper curriculum. Your attention should be immediately given in preparing, planning a proper curriculum through which tourism professionals for the future can be groomed. At first, we must study and understand tourism as a customer experience. Many times we explain tourism as people come, here is a lot of beauty, people can come and experience what we have. But what we have is something, what a tourist need is something different. Only when we understand the customer needs and our resources, we will be able to prepare and package it for the customer to experience the way he likes. It does not mean that we should convert our resources into something else what we don't have, but to prepare and supply the need of the customer with the resources we have without losing its natural beauty and authenticity. How can we know about this? This needs serious market studies on customer demands, customer interests, customer motivation for travel, the channels which influence the customer needs and their demands, like travel agents, travel magazines and other media, and also the customer and market behavior of the various market sources. All these are very important in preparing and planning our tourism training curriculum. Many sources of such studies are now available, especially in the Western tourism markets, both by tourism authorities in that area, also by many big tour companies in the Western world, especially in US. Customer feedback and analysis is given high importance. Many big companies, in fact, is driven by the customer feedback for improving and modifying and bringing up new products. They sense the change of mood, the change of demand, change of expectation of the customers very quickly, and they adapt to that situation as quick as possible. Preparing and planning our tourism training curriculum. Education has become a commercial commodity in the recent part of our life, which started exploiting the job seekers in the world. Tourism opened another gate for them. The global attention tourism has received as a smokeless industry, cultural exchange medium, experiencing the world through travel, all gave a lot of publicity to such educational institutions. The term hospitality industry and most of the hospitality schools basically served in imparting training for hotel resort staff in various departments. This is what is being combined with the tourism terminologies and started as tourism courses in many of these institutes. There were many books written on tourism which explains the history of organized travel, the commercial impact, infrastructure development in many destinations when organized travel started happening. But they were basically studies on economic growth and the demand creation, classification of various tourism and tourists based on these authors' observations. In India, the word tourism was used in soon after the first decades after the independence for actually handling hundreds of European, especially the Britishers, traveled to northern part of India to see Taj Mahal and the monuments of north. At that time, government was not seriously thinking about tourism is going to be a big earner of foreign exchange. They have asked the Archaeological Survey of India, who were the custodian of all monuments, to frame some guidelines to manage this visitor flow. In fact, most of the tourism curriculum talks very widely about tourism as an entertainment industry, and also it talks about various jobs as managers, executives, mostly who work within the office with your computer. But very few tourism institutes or universities do have a detailed understanding about what are the responsibilities of a tour apart from marketing. Marketing is a very popular term because it involves a lot of intervention of popular media. But without a good product, just a beautiful marketing strategy won't work. Kerala tourism is a good example for that. We have excellent videos, excellent brochure. It can match with anything which is the best in the world. In fact, it has won many awards for its publication. But unfortunately, these recognitions did not convert into business because they are beautiful marketing products, marketing tools rather, but did not hit the target because they are so beautiful in good quality, but it lacked content which really has not touched the market properly. You can say a place is beautiful, but beauty is seen with different eyes at different levels, different people. Not the beautiful, naturally beautiful locations need not be a reason for many people to travel. It can be for some, but not all. In fact, if you look at the trends in the modern tourism, you will find that all these beautiful locations are not just being traveled or visited by people. People travel to various places or having various different experiences. Experiential tourism, which is now a new terminology, which has been spoken a lot nowadays. But what experience to provide needs to be understood by many even now. Coming back to the tourism education, the tourism agency must have different departments. A product development and research department which should be gathering information of various destinations and its products and its resources. and analyzing and understanding the facilities in these places, knowing the cost. So there should be a research and development personnel, then a planning and costing department to gather all the costs involved, the prices of various different activities and the other requirements like accommodation, transportation, guides and other things. There should be a costing department which should analyze, yes, this is what the cost of this and this is how we want to be marketed and the cost of our overheads and the price. And then production of marketing tools should be based on these specific products rather than just showing some general things about a destination. All these things need to be developed by giving proper training at the institutional level itself. Many times what happens, most of the travel agents are interested in taking raw hands rather than having a tourism personnel. Many tourism institute faculties complain that their students are not given an opportunity to learn by working in a tour company. It's mainly because it's easy to train a raw mind into what in each agency wants than having someone having a vague idea or of a general, a bigger perspective about what should they do and come into a small office and try to think and connect what they have studied so far and what they have to do. Unfortunately, in India, we have not given much importance in customer feedback. Our market model is we pack it and you take it. Even though some of the tour operators started having some kind of a feedback system, but of course there is no serious kind of analysis based on the customer feedback is given any importance. TripAdvisor used to be a channel by which many of Indian tour operators rely on in finding customer feedback put on public domain. Many times that is driven by business motives because you can create many fake accounts and put feedback on any product on the web. It is very important that both at the tourism authorities level and at every tour companies or activity products level, there must be a system to collect customer feedback and an analysis should be done based on such feedbacks, which should be made available in public domain so that even people who are coming to invest or coming into the tourism field can plan and prepare their activities based on statistical information. I wanted the tourism educational planners. You should consider understanding and studying and given training based on three major aspects of tourism. One is what I have been saying, the tour activity producers, by understanding tourism market trends by this kind of feedback system and understanding the international tourism products, analyzing them, etc. The second one is the most important but least discussed segment. Who are the tourism activity providers? Remember, one of my earlier messages I mentioned, tourism is a activity created by many activity producers, tourism activity service providers, and the tour operator's job is put them in a basket and sell it through their channels to the customer. So the basic tourism products happens not at the office of a tour operator. It happens at various ground level, maybe as a cruise boat man or a boat operator, maybe as a farm tour provider or as a monument guide, museum which is there in many of our cities. Like that, there are many tourism products which includes in every tourism packages we sell. There were not much study on how these tourism products are created, priced, and managed, and also there is no study on how to improve these facilities. We do have some kind of observations. Based on that, our government started doing certain things. For example, the basic toilet facility, because many times it is been loudly spoken by some people, yes, there is suddenly there is some kind of arrangements are made to provide toilet facilities. But remember, with all these, majority of our tourism facilities don't have good toilet facilities even now. So this is actually because that we don't have independent studies based on each destination. If we have that, we can compile that into one system where we can analyze which area lacks what as a common facility. Plus, we can also add on more experiences into destinations where information is available. Most of the tourism studies give high thrust to tour operators as the key in tourism industry, and most of the trainings is to make someone into a staff or an executive in a tour company. In fact, it is given by most of the people as the most important entity in tourism. They take the claim as the sole representative of tourism business as they identify, negotiate, and package the tourism product and market it and sell through various channels to the suppliers and to the customer. They also act as a contractor in executing the tourism activities mentioned in their packages. But the major segment who execute these products to the customer on the field are given least importance in these studies. In fact, when you are part of a tourism course, most of the students who came with an impression that it is the tour operator who is the sole authority on tourism. But the real fact is each of these tourism products, packages, are the creation and work of hundreds of field professionals who are least recognized in tourism industry. Even when the governments used to communicate with the tourism industry, they call the stakeholders meeting. Only those who are engaged in these big commercial activities are invited, and only their opinions are taken as the opinion of the tourism industry. The most experienced field professionals like a cruise staff, because a driver, a tour guide, these are the people who are at the field level engaging with the customer and ensuring that what the customer is paid for is being offered. It also influences the future of tourism business in that destination. If any lapses on executing these products, the services offered in these products are happening, that definitely will cause a big damage to the tourism prospects of that destination in a bigger way. Thank you very much for your kind listening to the third edition of my message on restarting tourism. I'll be grateful if you can subscribe the channel and also leave your valuable comments after listening to this video. I'll be coming with more of the series soon. Thank you very much for that.